Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Director, I appreciate you being here. And back in February 23rd, 2009, the CBO at that time outlines a $1.186 trillion deficit. And the very next day, the President made his promise to pledge to cut the deficit in half by the end of my first term in office. And in your comments and the comments of the President's yesterday, he made a claim that he was going to meet that pledge, at least projected. But the numbers show one half of the CBO figures, or $593 billion deficit. What do you project?
If you look at it as a percentage of GDP, we cut it in half by the end of the first term.
That was not the statement of the President.
And that's what we're accomplishing.
That's what bothers me, of how the President can stand up, and you can stand here in this document and claim that you're cutting the deficit in half when you did not.
Well, we are cutting it in half as a percentage of GDP.
That was not the claim the President made. Would you agree with me?
I know what we've done in this budget. I know we've said in this budget we cut the deficit in half by GDP as a percentage of GDP, and that's
and I appreciate that. Again, I'll just note that is not what the President said, and that's not accurate of what's in your budget, and that's some of my difficulty. Where I come from, I mean, if you're wrong, you're wrong. But to stand up and again make that claim, I was very disappointed in that particular claim. But I'm also particularly disappointed, Mr. Director, in another statement in your document, in where you, to quote, "We're going to stay on a path towards sustainable deficits." And how long are deficits sustainable?
We need to get to the place where we stop adding to the national debt, and then this is a down payment. We need to work together to go farther than that. But you got to walk before you run. You've got to get rid of the deficit before you cut the debt.
This budget never does that, does it?
It gets us on a path where we will be able to do it. Yes.
The path is unsustainable. Your path in this budget is unsustainable.
I look forward to seeing. I look forward to.
No, we're not talking about a proposed plan, Mr. Lew, and that's when I'm dissatisfied, because the language that's coming out of this administration is telling the American people that we can borrow for 10 years or longer, and we're going to call it sustainable. We're going to say 3% borrowing is sustainable. It is not sustainable. There's no way we can sustain the track that's being presented here, and that's disappointing, because I know the American people. I know people that work every day and try to balance their budgets, and they understand that sometimes you go underwater a while. But to stand here today, sit here today and have the President claim somehow it'll be all okay, even if we're going to have a $768 billion deficit in 2 years, still there, and we're going to sustain that forever. And that's why I'm very disappointed.
Well,
the President didn't stand. I'm still talking here. Thank you. I'm very disappointed in that. That's what I wanted to convey here, because the President has the opportunity. He still does. He still has the opportunity to stand up and provide proposals to save and strengthen Medicare. And you've said here that those are not contained in here. Right. But I just want to note to the American people, the folks that are listening here, and the media, this is not sustainable. You can call it whatever you want. Sustainable deficits do not work. Primary balance is a figment of our imagination. Only in Washington could you run a deficit and claim it's balanced and somehow use the word balance. Mr. Lew, you couldn't do that anywhere else. They'd laugh you out of the room. And I come at the state level. I serve in the state legislature. We had a requirement, really, balance. It wasn't a primary balance. We couldn't run a deficit. This country is on a course for unsustainability, and I would expect the President to stand forward and say, hey, you know, I'm not going to keep my word, but to stand up and tell the American people, I kept my pledge. He did not.
I disagree with you, Congressman. If I had time, I'd answer.
He has $193 billion off of his promise. That's a false claim, and I'm very disappointed in that. I yield back the balance of my time, Mr. Chairman.